Hi, I'm Mary. I'm a nurse, but I'm also a facilitator in this scenario.
I'm Chris, I'm a nurse.
Laura, I'm representing physical therapy.
Hi, I'm Kathy, I'm the chaplain.
Hi, Diane, I'm the pharmacist.
I'm Jeanette, I'm the social worker.
I'm Neha, one of the physicians.
Marianne, I'm a physician and a facilitator. The team has convened and they're going to introduce themselves to each other and then begin to plan their strategy for the family meeting.
My name's Neha. I'm one of the physicians.
I'm Jeanette Gallagher, I'm the social worker.
Hi, everyone. Diane, I'm the pharmacist on the team today.
Hi, I'm Kathy, I'm the chaplain.
I'm Laura, I'm a physical therapist.
And I'm Chris, I'm a nurse.
So now the facilitator has stepped out of the room and we will model doing the pre-meeting. So today we're meeting with the daughter of Miss Devine, and it's somebody that we all know. So before we have them come in, I'd like to talk about what our strategy is and what our goals are.
Do we know what she's expecting from us?
You know, I have not been able to speak with her. Has anyone else gotten a chance to speak with her?
I met with her yesterday, and the daughter reiterated that her mother is not interested in going to a nursing home. But she had a bad experience with her husband being in a nursing home, so I think the focus might be on bringing her home with more support if possible.
I think one of my main goals for today's meeting is to make sure that we all can kind of touch base with the daughter and make sure that we're all kind of up to speed with where we're at, since I know we've all kind of been seeing her individually, but really kind of come to hopefully a cohesive plan before we leave today.
I haven't met the daughter yet, but I did talk at some length with the patient, and in addition to sort of not wanting to go to a nursing home, she expressed to me how she's still really grieving for her husband, which is something that I think we need to keep in mind. And also that she once got a lot of spiritual support, especially when her husband was still here, from her church and church community, and she's missing that as well. So it's a sort of an additional loss.
Mm-hmm. And I think we really need to keep her on track and again think of discharging her. I don't know if anybody else has any other thoughts, but my impression is what we're walking into this meeting today is that we're planning our discharge plan as a cohesive team.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to make sure that that's what everyone else is coming into this meeting with.
And I haven't met with the daughter, but I evaluated the patient the other day, and I have a lot of concerns about her safety and her ability to navigate in the house. And I'm not sure how aware the daughter is about her mom's functioning, so I didn't really talk about discharge, but I don't feel comfortable with her returning to her home after she's here.
And a lot of the meds also, I'm very concerned about the cognitive function as well and how they may impact that as well. So that's
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you are in terms of not 100% convinced that home is the best place.
Okay.
In terms of what we're seeing sort of on a day-to-day basis with her ability to be safe or function, or I'm also concerned that with her background and her comorbidities that she's going to potentially continue to decline. So if she's going to go home, I want to really feel comfortable that that's a setting that's going to be helpful to her as opposed to making her more uncomfortable or more at risk. That's my concern from talking with even the other nursing staff.
And so I think you bring up a good point from a medical standpoint. Do you feel like she is going to be stable for a while? Do you feel that there's going to be a quick decline, or do you have difficulty guessing at what's going to happen next?
I think it's hard to predict. I think I share a lot of your concerns as well about her ability to be at home and how tenuous her health status has been. And I worry about her ability, with the amount of support that she has, to be at home and take her medications properly. I think there'll be a period of time that she could be at home, but she's certainly at high risk of having more and more complications.
Can we imagine some additional supports for her at home so that she wouldn't lose that foundation and that set of circumstances where she's familiar? One of the things that she said to me was that when in the house, she knows where everything is, and she knows how to do things. And although she misses her husband, who did a lot of the household things, that if she were moved out of that environment, there would be some
More confusion.
Yeah, more confusion and loss due to that.
Mm-hmm.
ask a question of the facilitators? Can I do a timeout and ask a question of the facilitators? So facilitators,
Voice of God.
facilitators, what are we gonna do if the daughter just completely like breaks down and none of us know what to do? Like, can you help us figure out what we're supposed to
Ask your
do?
group how to
Yeah.
deal with that.
So what are we gonna do?
Ask your group.
I think we need to get to the root of where the breakdown is, maybe at what point we're at, and certainly maybe kind of backtrack a little bit and just readdress what we were talking about, and certainly wherever, in my opinion, she kind of loses her emotions, maybe backtracking a little bit, but then kind of going from there and maybe
Also-
readdressing.
Yeah, if she can get from us a sense that we're willing and ready to support her,
Right.
I think that can go a long way, and promise her that even after this meeting, that we will continue to talk further with her and figure out a way that this can all go forward, that she can, come to grips with.
And if we do get to a point where I think any of us feel like we don't really know the next step, we could always just take a timeout and maybe just regroup a little bit too as well, and maybe that would help all of us. Should we-
And if she loses it, maybe we give her a couple of minutes to lose it,
Yeah.
and
That's a
then
good point.
help her get
Yeah.
back.
To feel
And
that way.
support
Yeah.
her
Yeah,
through all
definitely.
of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like we are on the same page where we have our main focus is discharge, eliciting what her goals are with her mom moving forward. And it sounds like we all have a lot of concerns about her going home and have some concerns about how the daughter is going to respond to that situation. We should establish who is going to be sort of leading the team meeting. Does anyone have any thoughts?
Well, one thought might be that because it potentially involves placement or the decisions about staying home or not, that maybe the social worker would be an appropriate person to do that, because they're less medical decisions than placement decisions. That make sense?
And I think that the leader can be fluid and move as the conversation
Yes,
moves,
sure,
but
absolutely.
I think that was an excellent, viewpoint, and would be a great person on the social to really kick off the conversation. And as
All right with you?
it
Yeah.
turns, you could step in.
Okay by me.
That's okay by me.
Yeah, same.
Would you want to bring the patient in then?
Sure.
Or the daughter?
The daughter in?
Yeah.
So here's a note to facilitators. Neha did a great job summarizing kind of where the meeting needed to go when the daughter walks in. But if you're working with a group that doesn't get to that point at minute 10, call a timeout and remind them that they have a couple of minutes, that they should be wrapping up and really deciding what their goals as a group are, so that they're fully prepared when the SP walks in the door. Hi.
Well, welcome.
Hi.
It's great people.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Does anyone want to just go around and introduce?
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm one of the nurses.
Oh, hi, Chris.
Yeah. And I'm Kathy. I'm one of the chaplains. I met your mom.
Okay.
Hi, Diane, the pharmacist on the team. Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Neha, the physician on the team.
Oh,
It's
okay.
nice to meet
Good to
you.
see you.
And I'm Laura, I'm the physical therapist. Nice to meet you.
Good to see you. I think we're going to have Laura go first, and she has another consult to be at, so she's going to tell about your mother.
Oh,
and
good. I mean,
she's-
how's she doing? Is she going to be able to go home soon?
Well,
So-
that's what we're here to talk about.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The
Okay.
options and possibilities.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I met your mom yesterday and I did an evaluation. So I look at things like how is she moving in and out of bed, how is she moving around the room and in the hallway. And I did see that your mom is certainly weak from being in the hospital and from her urinary tract infection. And I also saw some problems with her memory, which I'm sure that you've
Yeah,
picked up on
yeah.
over the past few years. And from what I saw, I really think she can benefit from going to another facility to get a little bit stronger, to help her manage in the house a little bit more, have her walk with a little bit more stability, because I do have some concerns about her falling if she were to go home.
Yeah, I mean, she likes being in her little house and she has her little routine. But I notice when we're over there, like watching TV or if I'm over there having dinner, she holds on to the furniture, and I've sort of made sure everything was solid, but she always, and in the kitchen too, especially if she's been sitting down for a while, I think her knees give her a little bit of trouble when she first gets up. So I've been worried about that and wondering, should I put up some railings, or does she need a walker, or
And one of the
something
things,
like that?
one of the things we can do is work with your mother to see what we can do to strengthen her and make her more stable, but also, like you said, maybe there's some home modifications that we can do so that she can maneuver in the house. But right now, I wouldn't feel comfortable with her going directly home.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, so would it be, where does she go to work out? I mean, it sounds like she's going through a little workout or something,
So that's a great question. I think some of the things that need to be determined before we get to that step is her medical stability, when her urinary tract infection is going to be better,
Okay.
when she's stable to go to another facility to get some more care. And so
Okay.
the social worker and the physician and the nurses and the pharmacist can help fill in those gaps.
And maybe we can, if it's okay, maybe let's take a step back, because I don't think we've been able to hear from you about, about what you've been told. And I can imagine that we've all met your mom. We've all been on the team that's been taking care of your mom. And, what's always important for us to understand is what you've been told, so that we don't repeat information. We're very respectful of what has been told. So why don't you tell us what you understand, and then maybe we can go around and sort of let you know what our interactions with your mom have been.
Okay, so she's had the dementia and a couple of other health problems she's had taken pills for a while now. And my dad passed away 2 years ago, and he really took great care of her and made sure she took her pills. And we didn't know he was sick until it was too late, because he was so good with her, And so when he passed away, that was really hard on her. And I feel like she took a couple of steps back for a while. And then she seemed to get in a groove that was okay, and we have, she has a Meals on Wheels that comes, and she really likes the guy that delivers the food in the evening. He's nice to her, and they sit and talk or whatever. And then we got her some home health care 3 times a week, and we had to go through several people to find the one that she liked, but now she's got a lady that comes in that she gets along with real well. And I guess she's checking on her medication and helping her make some in-between meals. And I know sometimes if I go over there on the day she's been there, the clothes are in the washer, but they haven't gone in the dryer. And I don't know if Mom said she would do that, and that's really hard for her to do because she has to balance to get the stuff. So I feel like there's some gaps in between, but I don't know, if she needed more help at home. And then there was more and more. My brother calls from California, and he gets up in arms because she can't remember stuff, or she talks about Dad as if he's coming home from work. But I think he doesn't understand the time change. Sometimes when he calls, it's really later, and sometimes he's waking her up at night.
Right.
So I think I don't know that that's really her fault, And anyway, so she started to have this swelling in her legs, and we took her to a cardiologist who said for her not to drink too much water, and he gave her another pill, and she says she takes them, and I put them all in the pill box we have for her, and she's supposed to take them at certain times of day. It's empty when I get there,
Right.
but I did do laundry for her once, and the little house coat that she wears, there were a bunch of pills in the pocket, and I don't know which one is which, because now, once they're out of the container,
Right.
I,
Hard to identify.
Right.
so I feel bad about that, but she
Sounds like lots
says
of
she's
concerns.
taking it, and
Yeah.
when she talks about what she's doing, she's very lucid, she's very, I got it, don't worry, I know that, and so it feels like it's okay. And then, the other day before yesterday, I called her, and she said, your dad hasn't come home from work, and I'm worried, and are you calling from the payphone at school? And I was like, what, Mom? And I just didn't feel right, so I got somebody to cover me for work. I went over there, and she was still in her pajamas. It was afternoon, and she never does that. She prides herself on getting up and getting dressed, even on days she doesn't feel so good. And she was very disoriented, and so I said, we're going to go meet Dad at work, to get her in the car. And when we got to the hospital, they said she was dehydrated and she had a urinary tract infection. And so once I got her settled in a room, I went home to get a shower, and I had to go back to work to get people to cover for me. So, that's all I know.
Yeah, sounds like a lot.
Yeah,
Sounds
it
like there's a
does.
lot going
Yeah.
on in
Yeah.
terms of her being able to even be safe right after an acute hospitalization. I think that's why Laura might have mentioned something in between potentially, because she may still have, I'm not sure if she's still going to be on medications for the UTI, for the bladder infection when she goes. And
Absolutely.
it's so in addition to her normal stuff, she may get things added
Oh,
on.
gosh.
And
Yeah, she's probably gonna need a little bit more help at home if she does go home, and that's something to look at. And I know that's her goal, and we all spoke to her about that, and that's what she wants. But I think that there's things to consider medically and socially.
This is also a transition for you as well. This interim facility is kind of nice because it allows mom to get stronger and kind of regain back, and then it allows you and your family to kind of adjust and put some things in place. I think that
At home, sure.
we'll need more help, and certainly when we get to that point, I do want to talk about the medicines. I do have some concerns about her memory, and also she has some cuts and bruises on her legs. I'm a little bit worried about falling, especially. Certainly as any of us age, that becomes a concern, but with the memory deficits and some of these meds themselves can cause your mom to feel a little loopy, so to speak. So I've been really looking closely at the meds to make sure that we're minimizing that as much as possible, so she could be at her most clearest state, as well as minimize the fall risk. So that's a huge concern. I know the whole team is really sharing as well.
Just to clarify, and I imagine you have a question too, is the confusion from the UTI pretty cleared, or where is she on that?
It's, from a medical standpoint, it sounds like, she came in with urinary tract infection, and she was confused when she first came in. It's been getting better, but she's still not completely with it, and I don't know if that's been your experience as well with her, and it sounds like it has been based on, based on what you've been talking about, is that when she was at home, she was it just sounded like getting worse and worse and worse, and then she came into the hospital, and then she had the urinary tract infection, and she was, confused and delirious, and she had medications, and we weren't really sure what to do, and, now she's maybe getting better.
It's been a lot of information.
Yeah,
Do you
I'm
have any
wondering what you're
questions?
thinking or
Yeah.
feeling
Well,
about
I mean,
it.
I'll be honest with you, of course, he was much sicker than we realized, but when we put my dad somewhere, he didn't leave. And so I gotta tell you, I'm scared that, I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is she would be there a short time. That's what we thought about my dad, but it seems like we know more about what's going on with her. And so, I don't know, it's just really scary to me because the people were nice, but it felt very, they had to be nice because they get paid to get nice, you know what I mean? It didn't feel very personal, and she was really upset about deciding to take him there. So I just don't, I'm really scared about that,
And I can hear your hesitation about, I can definitely hear your hesitation about that, about thinking about putting her somewhere even for a short period of time, because you're so worried that what if it turns out
And I think
to
that
be
might
like your
really
dad?
scare her too. I mean, how do we talk to her about that? I think she's not going to want to do that. And I think she's going to get really scared that the same thing's going to happen to my dad. And she might just give up if she thinks we're giving up. That really scares me.
I think maybe reframing it, it's not really giving up, it's just giving her another chance to get a little bit stronger so that she is able to be at home, which is obviously her goal.
Yeah.
But right now, we're worried, just like you're worried,
Right.
about whether or not she's going to be able to stay at home and be safe and be at home, safely. You clearly love her, and you clearly want to do what's best for her.
But it's very understandable that you'd be scared.
Yeah,
It's
of course you're
understandable
scared. I
for
mean, of
her
course
too,
you're scared.
Yeah.
And so leading up to the time when she would move, we would do everything that we can to, you know, help both you and her to, you know.
To be able to go back home and to, you know,
Right.
support her and be able to, you know, for her to be going to, you know, the short-term stay and then being able to go home. Of course, we would support you and we would, of course, support her.
Yeah, well, I'll make sure that she, you know, we're clear that we know that her goal is to go home and that everyone's
Okay.
gonna try
And we're
both
trying
here and-
really, really hard,
Right,
you know, to make
exactly.
sure that the goal is for her to be able to go home, you know. and-
Timeout. So, you know, what we're talking about is placement, and it feels as though the physician is really dominating this part of the discussion. And so maybe if the social worker can get a little more involved in, you know, how does placement work, the short term, long term.
Sure. Sure.
I also haven't heard anyone even discuss the option of home.
Yeah,
Be
that's true.
required to take her direct, this is being presented as a one-choice option.
Right.
Timing.
So I'm just gonna go over the options a little bit with you about, you know, the choices. So, what we're talking to you about is a short-term or SNF stay. And that's really a very, very brief stay, probably between like, you know, 30 to 90 days on average.
Okay.
So it's
Oh,
really
okay.
like to get her medically stable
Okay.
and look at building her strength with physical therapy. You know, and that would be that one choice. The other thought is, you know, if she's very keen on going home and we can work with PCA to get more hours at home, maybe she could go to an adult daycare program during the days and we could get some hours in overnight for her to be safe at home.
Oh,
And get some
okay.
skilled nursing in temporarily. Yeah.
Okay,
So-
okay. Yeah, 30 or 90, I mean, that seems like, then if there was stuff I had to do in the house to make it better, I
Right.
could get that done and it'll be the same kind of.
Good thinking.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
That's the
I
time
mean,
to do it.
Because if she's gonna go home and I've gotta put rails in the bathroom and
Sure.
have somebody come do it, it's,
Right.
with her in there, I don't know that it's gonna
Mhm.
be as easy for the work people because
Right.
she will have something to say about it all, you know?
Exactly. And I mean, you know, like long term, I mean, and I know this is not her goal or your goal at this point, but you know, there is always long term care. If, you know, things get overwhelming at home and she really can't be safely managed at home, then you can obviously look for a long term nursing home placement. But for now, we think that this might be a good compromise to get her a little bit more medically stable and a little stronger and see how she does. We've had such a brief stay with her here, it's hard to make that prediction of how she would manage at home at this point. But it does give you time to explore support at home and that option to bring her home.
What are, I mean, are those places, what, are the visiting hours stricter or what, you know, because I want to still be able to see her, have meals with her and stuff like that, is that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
You
yeah.
know, so it
Absolutely.
feels like we're in our same routine we are in the regular week.
Right,
Okay.
yeah,
all right.
definitely. I mean, they're definitely very welcoming to families.
Okay.
And you're gonna need to be a huge part of that to cheer her on and to make sure there's more consistency and she feels, you know, a little bit more like it's home, like, you know, come and bring a couple things from home to make her
It's
feel
less
comfortable.
hospital-like.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing there are some nurse practitioners in the hospital who do what's called a transitional care program for our patients. And so, you know, what they've been doing is they sort of know her in the hospital and they can sort of pop in on her when she goes to a skilled nursing facility or home. So we're lucky that we have a program like that, you know, you can get a nurse practitioner who's actually seen her here in the hospital and then can follow up with her. So it might be a familiar face and help with some of the discharge stuff. So that's a possibility too that we could think
that's-
about.
Can I call a timeout? I'm sorry, I need to regroup with my team members for a minute. So at this point, when the team calls a timeout, the SP is going to disengage from the situation, and this will allow the students to interact with each other as if the SP is physically not there. So kind of a safe haven for the students to regroup themselves. And the reason I called this timeout was I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable of how to present the next step of the information, which is my really big concern about the medications. I think that the sniff from a short-term perspective was really great suggestion from a lot of my colleagues, but the medications themselves aren't going to get fixed post-sniff. Her dementia is going to get worse, as well as some of the other things that I was told which were concerning, finding them in her house coat, as well as really who's managing the meds on like a 24/7 basis. So I really need to call my team members of bringing this to them and kind of redeciding if, I know a sniff's a good idea and we all are on board with that, but I really am concerned that she's going to have a lot of problems with these meds. And I mean, we've gone over in detail, both the nurse and myself and the physician and, even all the other members of the team, that we're making sure the med list is as bare bones as possible for every indication she needs. But she's still on a significant number of medicines. I mean, about 9, and she's elderly, and there's a lot of concerns of cognitive function.
So do you think as the team we should push the daughter toward long-term sniff as opposed to short-term sniff?
I think that I
Long-term
wouldn't
nursing
feel
home.
right if we don't at least present to her that, yes, sniff sounds like a reasonable option, but it may not be the only, it may not be that that's how it's going to happen in 90 days. I think by saying 30 to 90 days, my concern is by day 90, they'll be ready to take mom home. But I don't think that these are going to get fixed, these issues. So I don't know how we can readjust to say that this is an option, but it's going to have to maybe get reevaluated, because if mom keeps getting worse in the sniff, I don't know how we're really going to be able to discharge her home. That's my concern.
I don't know if we need to, I think the options have been presented. I'm not
Okay.
sure. I think she recognizes the decline that her mom has. I'm wondering if, sort of bridging what Jeanette was saying by you now saying that we're talking a lot about having her go to a sniff, one of the concerns that you had brought up, and so bringing it back to her
Okay.
about the medications. And I'd like to talk about the medications now, so maybe that would give you an
Okay.
opportunity to be able to at least introduce your concerns.
And I think that that's a great bridge, because I definitely don't want to be a negative Nancy on the situation, but I do think that it's worth bringing them to light. So
Would it be reasonable to say that whether or not the ultimate decision is that she can go home is somewhat contingent on whether or not she either stays stable or improves a little, versus declining, which is what you're anticipating, but that may, we can't prejudge that for sure.
I think maybe we just say it will be continuously evaluated during her stay at the SNF, because I don't want to give her false hopes that no matter what happens in the SNF at day 90 she's leaving. Because I don't know if that would be
I
our.
think that's reasonable.
So that would be my only.
Is it appropriate at all to talk about ways that her meds could be managed at home, or if she was to go home, like blister packs or Medisure?
And that's what I want to get a little bit more information from her today, but I think that as she certainly stays in the SNF, that gives us a little bit of time too, on our end, to see maybe what pharmacies are in her area, there's home delivery, blister packs,
Right, yes, different ways of packaging and
whatnot. So that was a great suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready to time back in. Is everyone on the same page?
Okay.
So I did just want to talk to you a little bit about your mom's meds. I really wanted to say that you're doing a really great job going and filling that pill box. That's a major step that a lot of patients sometimes don't get that help. So just that step alone is helping your mom. I'm a little bit concerned about, you found the pills in the house coat. I know you expressed concerns over that as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she's telling you she's taking them, that is something that we have to think about. Do you ever find that it's hard in your schedule to get there to fill the pill box? I mean,
No, I have a part of my routine. I go to the pharmacy and pick the stuff up, and they know me.
okay.
And I have no trouble parceling it out, but I gotta work, and
Right. Because,
I check with Anita, the woman that comes in to take care of it, and I say,
Yep.
oh, did she take her pills? I mean, I have, 5 different things I say to her every time to see what she's
Right.
doing
Yeah.
over there, And she always says yes, and when I open it up to refill it, it's all empty. So
Right.
I just don't know, is she putting it down somewhere? Did she drop it? Because some of the, she's not getting better for some stuff, so I don't,
Well, and unfortunately, and and this is something that we can certainly talk more about at another time, since I don't want to take up everyone's time today. These meds, especially for dementia, they're not going to be a cure. We can give her antibiotics to cure infections like the urinary tract infection, but dementia is something that we can't really cure it with pills. It just kind of helps not make the decline as sharp. So that's something that you're not going to see, unfortunately, 100% cure. So, but overall, I think that your approach to filling her pill box is excellent. But respecting your time, there are also services that we can maybe talk about in the future. If we do decide to go to this short-term facility, you and I can really work together to put everything in place. Like blister packing of her meds. And is there a local pharmacy that can deliver for you to your house? Or
I didn't even know they had that.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Timeout.
Apologize.
This is the facilitator reminding you that you have 2 to 3 minutes to wrap up the meeting.
So certainly we could talk offline about that as well, but there are options. So I think that also in support of the team decision that a short-term stay will allow her to be continuously evaluated on all of her different conditions, and it would give us all time to put measures in place to make both your mom and you make the right decision easier.
Okay.
Discharge.
So I think maybe based on what you've been telling us about what's important to your mom, it sounds like you understand that things haven't been going very well. You're really concerned about her, but based on your experiences with your dad, you're really worried about having her go to a facility. And so, I think what we've been talking about is having her go to a facility for a short term so that we can keep evaluating her, see if, our hope is that she'll get better, but there's certainly the possibility that things won't get better. But at least that gives us a little bit more time.
Okay.
So maybe if it's okay, we can have Jeanette start looking into
Right,
some
right.
places
Sure.
that make sense for
Right,
you.
and you would be part of that process too.
That's what I was
You'd be
gonna
able to
say,
help
too,
me.
that-
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
And I've got to check
couple
in with
places.
my brother too, because he'll have something to say about it. I'm
Okay.
sure,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, does that
And I
sound
hope
okay?
that if your mom goes to the SNF, or even if she goes home with some extra services, that we'll find a way to get her a little more spiritual support too, because it sounds like she misses that.
She, like I said, when my dad passed away, that was something they did together, and
Yeah.
I'd offered her to take her over to the church, and I think that's what she used to do with him, and so it was making her miss him more, but,
Mhm.
maybe if somebody
Okay,
else
we'll
says
keep
it
that
to her, she'll
right
hear
there,
it,
right there. Okay,
So that would be nice, that would be really nice.
we'll work on that with you too. Okay.
So does this plan sound okay with you? Is that okay to move forward with
Yeah,
this?
yeah. I'm gonna try to call my brother tonight and let him know what's going on, and,
Okay.
I mean, we don't have to decide everything today, do we, or
No.
have a couple of days or so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you coming in
Oh,
and
thank
meeting
you.
with us.
Yeah.
And,
Thank you.
giving us your feedback and being available.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Take care.
Those of you who are just beginning to work with standardized patients, one great advantage they have is that they themselves will debrief the team on what they found effective or perhaps not as effective, and we're going to go ahead now and ask the SP to give the team some comments.
Okay. Phew, nerve-wracking, isn't it?
Yeah, intense.
Okay, so I have a couple of things that I noticed in the group dynamic that I wanted to talk about, but really this is your time too. So if you have a question, or if you disagree, or if you disagree with each other, we can talk about it and work it all out, because that's what this time is for. First of all, overall, I want to say the feeling I got from the team was that you were very well organized, and that you were caring for me. And I have to say that is super important, because all of a sudden, and it was especially like after the second time out, when we started talking about the facility and what that would be like, I felt you all caring for me, which made me think, oh my gosh, this is how they're caring for my mom. This is the kind of care that she's getting. And I think that's that it's organized and well thought out and very supportive. So that's an overall feel I have. I have to say I was so relieved when the timeout came, when we were talking, because I was focused on you for a long time. We were talking about this place. I could feel my shoulders going up, and I was going, I don't want her to go into a home. And it felt like we stayed at the same place for so long. It was torturesome. So I'm so glad that the break came, because when something is so scary and you stay at that scary place, it becomes bigger and darker and scarier and scarier. And I was almost about to say, I'm not ready to talk about this. I can't do this today. What shifted is when you talked about, and we had mentioned this other facility, but it was still very unknown. Once the specific was given of this is what it looks like, it's this much time, I could feel my shoulders go, whoop, So all of a sudden, even though it was scary with some details, it becomes a real thing rather than my imagination of a Lifetime movie of the week I saw or something like that, you know. So that was a great timeout, and I thought that you all handled it very well, of being supportive and also deciding that one person would explain what it would look like. And so that worked great for me. I wish it had come a little sooner, but I think that's a great thing to keep in mind about something abstract that becomes scary and you feel it's scary. Let's give the details about that. This is what it would look like, so you can better decide. Anybody have any questions about any moments? One other thing I want to talk about too is the very beginning. I thought that everybody introduced themselves and then you started talking, and I think the facilitator called the timeout. We haven't heard from you. Because it was so long before I could talk, I was wondering, will I be allowed to talk? And so I think that's just something to keep in mind, that whatever open-ended question you want to ask about, finally you did say, what do you know about your moms? Maybe that coming up first, because I think that will put you guys at ease and let you organize your thoughts while I speak. Is that useful?
Yes, absolutely. Make sure that we're all on the same.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Because I might reveal something that you didn't know about, and that might change the dynamic of what your next thing is. Any questions?
I guess I would wonder about that, whether you would feel as though you were sort of being brought in and you had to put everything out on the table before you had any idea what the rest of us were doing here.
I think the question of what do you understand about your mom's condition, a global thing, because I've taken her to the doctors a couple of times and they have. So I have my wording of it or my limited understanding of it, but then at least it would, by the language I use and stuff like that, you would know who you're dealing with. I think that would help you as well as me.
Thank you for the helpful feedback.
Yeah, that's
thank you.
amazing.